Hello and welcome. This is Empowering Educators, a podcast about purpose driven education. And my name is The Real Sun, here for Voice of Purpose. Today, joining me is Ramon Narayan, who is here with us all the way from New Zealand. Welcome, Ramon.
Yo, hey, how's it going?
It's going really great. And
Yeah, yeah.
just want to introduce Ramon to you guys. He is the manager of an NGO called Action Education, which uses action and creative-based methods to ignite the engagement of young people at all stages of their development.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
That's what we do.
Yes, yes, absolutely. Ramon is also a really great friend of mine who has shared many wonderful experiences in terms of education, in terms of poetry, in terms of just world exploration. And so I'm really excited to hear from him today because you always have some really awesome things to say. So,
Yeah, awesome.
welcome. So, we are here to talk about purpose driven education. And I just wanted to kind of pick your brain a little bit because I know a lot of the
Yeah.
work that you do is centered around supporting young people using the art form of spoken word poetry.
hmm
And a lot of the work that we do is very similar. And so I wanted to kind of hear from you. First of all, why don't you share with us in your own words, what is it that you do, and how do you feel like it connects to what we're talking about here in terms of purpose-driven education?
Cool, 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 cool. So, my background actually is in is in youth work. So I've been a youth worker for the last like 16 years, and run all sorts of different kinds of programs. But it wasn't until like about 2008 when we started using spoken word as a kind of a medium to help young people kind of really talk about their story, their journey, and kind of really develop their voice. Um, so what I quickly found, as soon as we started kind of using creativity as our kind of our main method, especially in terms of spoken word, is that you could do so much so quickly. You could, you could do like a 16-week program, like 2 hours a week with a group of guys, and like, halfway through the program, you'd be like, hey, how's everyone going? Fine, okay, all good. And then you could run like a 2 hour spoken word workshop and get this real insight into their world, what's going on, what are their struggles, what's up. And it's just so powerful. Not only that, I think what is the cool thing is that it builds so much rapport within the group because they've got their peers alongside hearing what they're saying, going, yeah, damn, boom, like giving them all this encouragement to kind of to share what's going on. And how often does that happen in life where you get congratulated for talking about all the hard stuff that you're experiencing? So I think
Mhm.
it's such a potent form of actual development. It's if you do that well, and for me, it's all about the scaffolding that you use when you're introducing young people to it.
Mhm.
Um, if that makes sense, like I really love spoken word in terms of it's so accessible and people can do it. Like anybody can do it. Not everybody feels like they can freestyle or, um, you know, sing, for instance, but everybody has got a voice that they can use to talk about their story and share their experience with others.
And
Um,
how does that enrich their experience of education?
well, we get it actually like re-engages them back into curriculum a lot of the time. I
Hmm.
mean, we work like I guess in New Zealand, like they call like the school systems based like on deciles. So, low decile schools have very limited funding, and, lack resources where high decile schools have like all the money and all the stuff and all the flash things.
Right.
Um, but we work right across, regardless, we work right across from low to high.
Hmm.
And like and sometimes we get sometimes it's like helping young people achieve their curriculum outcomes, like the things that they need to achieve. Other times we get called in to work with young people who are just kind of really disinterested or just not into it. And it does help them to get excited. It helps them to think things through another angle where they might think, oh, I can't do poetry, it's too hard, or I can't do English, it doesn't make sense. And we can approach it from another angle and get them reinterested, like back into it and kind of get excited and want to kind of engage in it, which is really, really cool. Like I
And
think all the time, yeah.
yeah, no, no, go ahead.
As I say, all the time, like we get feedback from like teachers saying, "Oh man, like that's the most that they've done this whole entire term," and we've
Hmm.
just like like a 1 hour or 2 hour class,
Yeah.
and it's kind of like what did you guys do? And it's like, wow, man, like you, we've just done it. We've just used creativity. We've get them, we've used action. We've got them out of their seats. We've taken away their desks. We're using music. We're using movement. We're actually working in a whole different kind of a space, and I think what works
Yeah,
with young
it's
people.
a
Hey?
different mode of learning, and you're
Yeah.
introducing these elements of creativity into the classroom to engage them in these materials. I often hear this similar kind of feedback as well from my work, is teachers being like, "Whoa, like what did you do when you come into the classroom?" Um, these youth are engaged in a whole nother level that I've never seen all year long. And oftentimes I find the feedback at the end of the year is, after the work that was done, that environment was kind of, that container was created for the rest of the school year and kind of set a
Mm,
tone, almost a community in the classroom, right? Um,
yeah.
so,
Because you're building so much rapport
yeah,
within that environment at the same time,
yeah.
like with yourself and the students, but more so the students with each other.
Mm-hmm.
They're learning a lot about their own experiences and kind of getting a better perspective around about where their peers are coming from
Mm-hmm.
and what's driving them to maybe act or be in certain ways,
Mm-hmm.
which really builds connection and relationship, which I
Mm-hmm.
think is and within learning environments, say if you're in an environment where there's not trust, and there's no relationship, and it's very very hard to even share or express out their ideas. I think, I don't know, young people in our classrooms here are like incredibly terrified of sharing anything, whether they even think, even if they know that it's the correct answer, because they don't want to get mocked, they don't want to look dumb, they don't want to look silly, or they're too interested or too engaged, or so there's all of these elements which actually stops young people kind of contributing. But I
Mm-hmm.
guess when you're working from a creative base, you're almost like just like kind of like tricking them into getting engaged because they can't help themselves. They get really excited and just get pulled in to your content and what you're delivering. And so even before they've got a chance for any of those blocks to come up, you've already dismantled them, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I think so often our young people like are conditioned to disengage at school.
Yes.
The repetitive nature of everything, it seems kind of pointless, it seems overwhelming and really hard for them to sink their teeth. And it's this distance slowly begins to happen where they kind of move slowly and slowly away until they're completely kind of disengaged from wanting to participate at all.
Hmm. What I really find interesting about this mode of teaching through the arts and through spoken word and through poetry is that allows space for young people, for learners to tell their own personal narratives, to
Mm,
really go into depth about who they are ultimately, and is really effective in helping them to exercise their emotional intelligence. It's a different way of exercising, different intelligences that they may have that center around more creative energies, and bringing that forward. And
totally, totally.
when we're talking about purpose-driven education, a huge proponent of it is helping young people to connect with that true sense of self, right?
Yeah,
And understanding who they are on a deeper fundamental level, so that they will be better guided and on a better footing and foundation to place their educational experience in a way that is actually supporting them in creating a more fulfilling life, a life that is actually supporting what it is that they love to do. And so, in terms of the work that you've seen and the work that you've done, what do you see connection in terms of, yeah, that piece around uh, tailoring curriculum towards young people's unique experiences. And how do you feel about this idea of purpose-driven education? How do you feel about this lens that says that the purpose of the education system should be to help learners identify, align with, and build the skills to pursue their true purpose in life?
Yeah, I think it's awesome. I think it's the only way forward. Like, I mean, I was talking with some students yesterday. We were doing a project together at an art gallery, and they were like, talking about how sometimes at school, like, they get told this thing that, like, this is the only way forward. This is the only way you're going to achieve in the world,
Yeah.
and it's this way and the only way. And they were like, this is just it's just lies and nonsense. Like
Yeah.
that it's not the only way, and people learn completely differently in all sorts of different ways, and you have to do what works for each person. You can't just kind of fit everyone into the same box and stamp them and say, yes, this will work for you, because that's not how the world works. I mean, yeah, and if it did, it would be incredibly boring. But but like, yeah, like, I mean, it has to be that way. Like, yeah, I mean, it's just so, and it's so exciting. Like, I think, like, a student, when they really, really listen to what's going on in their heart and they get a opportunity to express that,
Hmm.
you can't argue with the power of that, because they're standing in their purpose in that very moment when they're speaking their truth, and you can't deny the power of that once you experience it.
Hmm.
And so when you're creating these safe opportunities for young people to really share what's on their mind authentically, it begins to create this kind of, I guess, willpower, or that it is like everything has a muscle that you can kind of strengthen or weaken, and like confidence, esteem, all of those things. Like, it's a really, like, I think what it is, it's also about helping people to stretch their comfort zones in a really positive and safe way. And
Hmm.
once they experience kind of taking those positive risks, whether it's kind of speaking out in front of a class or sharing something that they've produced, when you begin to show that they actually, you can do that and the world doesn't fall apart, or you don't look
Right.
silly, or you're
Right.
celebrated for those things, then
Hmm.
something really, really powerful happens within that person, so that they're
Absolutely.
able to share more, they're able to contribute more, they've got more confidence because they haven't fallen on their face. So the more that you're able to do that and help them to strengthen, and that means, and that's different for everybody as well.
Yeah.
For some people, it's just kind of participating and kind of, or smiling or looking like they're engaged.
Right.
And that could be a huge step for them. For others, it might be standing up and saying something in front of everybody, or, it's different for everybody. And it's like, I guess it's our role as kind of, as facilitators or teachers or educators, to kind of, to be able to read that well,
Yeah.
and kind of, and that gentle pushing,
Yeah.
not asking them to smash through their comfort zones, but just that gentle stretch,
Yeah.
so that they can go at their own pace.
Yeah. And I find that a lot of institutions, including our schools, tend to silence creativity or individuality in a lot of ways, and um, yeah, that's really powerful. So
And I think that's the like the ceiling is only as high as you make it. So,
right.
like, I think for a lot of people, they think, oh, that's too hard, we can't do that, they're not going to listen or whatever. But
Hmm.
when you really have high expectations for young people, and support them well, I mean, there is no ceiling. Like, it literally is as high as you make it as the
Yes.
educator in their life. Like, you need to be holding that for them. Otherwise, what are you up to?
Right. And it's teaching young people to trust themselves, right? To
Yeah.
trust your voice, to trust what you feel, to build up that confidence so that you can make those decisions. Because ultimately, what happens after school is that a lot of our young people, well, all of them are kind of pushed to make a decision. What are you going to do with the rest of your life? How are you going to make a living? How are you going to move forward? And exist in the world. And a lot of young
It
people
seems that just
are
seems
not
so
ready,
crazy.
to
It's
make
like
those
such a
decisions.
tremendous amount of pressure.
Hmm.
Like, I don't think I knew what was up. Like, where I would be. Like, and probably at least until, like, I was like 23, 24.
Yeah,
Like, to have some sense of what direction at least I was heading in.
yeah.
But yeah, young people feel this tremendous pressure that they have to make up that. And once that they make their mind up, that's it.
Hmm.
They're
Hmm.
stuck there. And
Hmm.
so it's so stressful, and it seems like just so unrealistic.
Yeah.
Like, and it's not real.
Mm-hmm,
Like I
mm-hmm.
do get that they need to be making decisions that are going to affect their future, but that's it's such a malleable thing. It's not set in concrete.
Yeah. And we are coming to the end of our time, so we do have to wrap up. But I really want to echo what you have said in terms of the value that we can really bring to our young people in their process of education by opening up spaces where they can be creative, where they can express themselves, where they can dig into their stories and feel safe enough to share what it is that they truly feel, how they think, and also provide space and support for them to learn how to express themselves in a way that exercises their emotional intelligence and teaches them that it's okay to kind of listen to that inner voice within and bring that forward, because ultimately that is the place from which we understand what our true purpose is, right? It's only from that internal
Totally.
source that we can, that it's almost like a muscle you have to exercise to tune in to be able to listen to that voice within, and not only just listen to it but trust it and bring it
Yeah.
forward and vocalize it and move forward with action to support what it is that you feel and you think from your own internal source, and not just what the system is expecting of you or demanding of you or mandating from you, but coming from that true place from within. um,
Totally.
so so we do have to wrap, but are there any last words that you would like to share with our listeners before we go?
I just think, creativity is just like an inherent part of what it means to be human. Um, and like, yeah, we get conditioned out of that, or fed these lies that, oh no, I'm not creative, but it's like so necessary. And it's
Mm-hmm.
just that we lack the opportunity sometimes to be able to express that in a way that's going to work for us and to really, really, I guess, express who you are and what it is. It's just fundamental to our existence.
Mm-hmm.
And, that we need to be providing these platforms, these ways of connecting for young people to connect with each other and to share their stories so that they're able to grow and be what the world needs them to be, which is
Absolutely.
their own awesomeness. Yeah,
Absolutely. And the world needs it, right? We need our young
yeah.
people to be awakened and pursuing
Dear
what
Lord, now more than ever.
more than ever.
2016, what is up?
There is an
Yeah,
urgency happening
yeah,
right now. Thank you so much, Ramon. If our listeners, if you want to check out some of the work that's happening in New Zealand, the website is actioneducation.co.nz, or Z if you're listening from the
yep,
States.
yep.
um, and uh, and
Check us
and
out on Facebook.
yep,
Yep,
Action Education. Uh,
yep.
yeah, you've been listening to Empowering Educators, a podcast about purpose driven education. And today I had with me Ramon Narayan. Thank you, Ramon,
Yeah,
so much.
thank you for having me.
And tune in next time. This is The Real Sun signing off for Voice of Purpose. Have a great day. Peace.
Whoop, whoop.